So I'm going to preface this with saying that there's a lot of nuance around what I'm about to do some EFT around and what I'm going to talk about, which is the nuance of disturbing images on social media. So at the time of me filming this, there has been another horrific bombing in Rafah. And as we continue and have been seeing genocides, multiple genocides, and horrible humanitarian crises be live streamed into our phones, we are continuously looking at extremely violent and horrific images. And sometimes, or not sometimes, often, I find that there's these like opposing two ends of the spectrum. There's often the side of the spectrum where people are completely, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to see it, it's too much. I can't be with that. It's going to completely dysregulate me. It's going to completely throw off my entire mood and my day and my energy. And then there's kind of this other side of the spectrum, I find, where people are so in it and watching closely and so involved in what's going on on their screen and these images that there's no separation between their nervous system and what's happening on the other side of that screen. And so for me, the nuance is like, what is the middle ground of allowing the world and the events of the world and things beyond us to, yes, to be impacted, to be emotionally impacted? And what does it look like to not stay so dysregulated that we ourselves are in a trauma response? So there's a lot of nuance around this. How do we honor the nuance? How do we allow ourselves to be open to the grief and be open to these things that are happening, so we're not, an ostrich with our head in the sand, but we're also not so in it that we ourselves remain in a trauma response and then we can't actually do anything for ourselves or for anyone else. So that's what today is going to be about. So if you're new to tapping, as always, you can check out some of my earlier videos. But for now, I'm going to have you think, as always, EFT is best when it's specific. So think of the last disturbing image that maybe you saw on Instagram or some form of media channel. And I'm going to ask maybe that you don't do the most intense one, maybe like a 5 or a 6. And when you're ready, maybe you can do bigger ones, but maybe don't start with the most intense one. Maybe start with like tops level 6 in terms of intensity. So bring to mind like a level 6, like, oof, that was really hard to see. That was really hard to look at. And then go ahead and like bring that to mind and then notice what happens in your body. Notice the sensations, notice any sort of emotions that might be arising in the body. And just note where you feel it the most prominently. You might feel a lot of emotion and you might feel a lot of sensations in the body. Just choose one. Choose one place, like a pit in my stomach or tingling in my chest, whatever it is. Just choose that. And then go ahead and rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the intensity of that sensation. The reason why I focus on sensation, on body sensation, is that because it gives our mind and our brain something to focus on as we do the tapping. It can be hard when we are focusing on many things, especially those who experience or who have ADHD. It can be really helpful to just focus on the one thing versus like all the sensations in the body. So just focus on the one. And if you want, and if it's helpful, you can actually have the image pulled up. Sometimes that can also help root us. And again, we're not doing this so that we tune out and that we don't have the emotional experience that this is eliciting, that this image is eliciting within us. It's not about that. We don't want to move away from that. What we want to do is be able to hold the emotion and also regulate ourselves so that we can allow the emotion to move through us and to take action and not be stuck in a freeze response or some other trauma response, because that's not helpful for anyone. So go ahead and start tapping on the side of your hand. And when you're ready, you can repeat after me either out loud or in your head. And if what I say doesn't resonate, you can always change the words to what does resonate for you. So when you're ready, go ahead and repeat after me. even though I saw this disturbing image and I feel it in my, and then go ahead and say where you feel this sensation when you look or think about this image. I choose to have compassion for myself. And right here, right now, I'm safe and I'm okay. Even though this image that I saw or that I'm currently looking at is extremely upsetting, and I can feel it in my, and then go ahead and say where you feel it in your body. I choose to have compassion for myself, and it's okay that I feel this way. And last time on the side of the hand, even though I have this sensation in my body, and then go ahead and say what the sensation is. Just looking or thinking about this image that I saw, I choose to have compassion for myself. And it is totally valid and makes sense that I feel this way. Okay, go ahead and tap on the top of the head. And just taking a moment here, letting the body settle, taking a breath in, and just allowing that image to come to mind. And if you're not looking at it, and if you're looking at it, you're welcome to keep your eyes open and actually look at the image. And just take a deep breath in, moving to the eyebrow point. And just tapping here for a moment and see if you can breathe into the space where you feel the most sensation. So if you have a pit in your stomach or tension in the chest and the shoulders, see if you can send your breath into that space. And release. And moving to the side of the eye. And just saying, this image that I saw is extremely disturbing. Moving underneath the eye. And I can feel it in my, and then go ahead and say where you feel it. Moving underneath the nose, it's hard to look at. Moving to the chin, it's hard to even understand what I'm seeing. Moving to the collarbone, but I also feel like I can't look away. Moving underneath the arm, I feel torn. Moving to the top of the head, and there's a lot of emotions that I'm experiencing right now. Moving to the eyebrow point, and as you tap here, just go ahead and say at least one. Just say one of the emotions that you're feeling. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's grief, sadness. Maybe you even feel numb. Moving to the side of the eye. And as you tap here, go ahead and tune in again to where do you feel it in your body, and go ahead and say, and I feel it in my. Moving underneath the eye. And just acknowledging and saying, part of me wants to look at this image. Moving underneath the nose. Part of me knows that this is really important. Moving to the chin. Part of me doesn't want to look away. Moving to the collarbone. But another part of me is extremely dysregulated. Moving underneath the arm. And stressed while looking at this. Moving to the top of the head. And again, just taking a breath in and breathing into the space where you feel this dysregulation, where you feel this stress. Moving to the eyebrow point. I give a voice to this dysregulation and this stress. Moving to the side of the eye. Not to enforce it, but to allow it to move through my body. moving underneath the eye. And maybe you can acknowledge that there could be a sense of guilt for letting this dysregulation go, letting this stress go. And if you do, just go ahead and tap here and breathe into that. Moving underneath the nose. I acknowledge the stress in my body as I look at this image or think about this image. Moving to the chin. But maybe there's a new way for me to process this. Moving to the collarbone. Maybe I can allow myself to feel the emotions that this image is bringing up. Moving underneath the arm, but maybe I can let go of some of the dysregulation. Moving to the top of the head, not because I don't care and not because I want to disassociate. Moving to the eyebrow point, but so that I can stay connected to my empathy. Moving to the side of the eye without staying in a trauma response. Moving underneath the eye, maybe I can trust that even in letting the trauma go, moving underneath the nose, that I can still stay connected to what's going on. Moving to the chin, maybe I can trust that having an impact. Moving to the collarbone and staying connected to what is going on. Moving underneath the arm is not reliant on me staying in a trauma response. Moving to the top of the head, maybe I can trust that the emotions that I feel, tapping on the eyebrow point, without staying in a constant state of dysregulation. Moving to the side of the eye is a healthy way for me to be in relationship with this image. Moving underneath the eye and what's going on and the context behind it. Moving underneath the nose. And I allow myself to be open to the possibility. Moving to the chin, that I can do much more help and support. Moving to the collarbone, from a place of deep empathy and regulation. Moving underneath the arm, it's okay if I have intense emotions and dysregulation. Moving to the top of the head, it's okay to not be okay. Moving to the eyebrow point, I allow myself to be impacted and be moved by what I'm seeing. Moving to the side of the eye, and I allow myself to be regulated. Moving underneath the eye, so I can move from overwhelm or freeze response. Moving underneath the nose into a place of empathy and action. Moving to the chin, and again, just take another deep breath in and see if there's any remaining emotion or sensation in the body. Tapping on the collarbone point. I trust that my emotion, without constant dysregulation, is enough to make a difference. Tapping underneath the arm. And to make and take significant action and make an impact in the world around me. you can go ahead and stop tapping and notice what's happening in the body. And then go ahead and rate on a scale of 1 to 10 again what that intensity is in terms of your sensation or your emotion. Maybe it went up, maybe it went down. And if there was something specific about the image that was particularly dysregulating, particularly hard, you're welcome to go back and focus just on that to allow it to move through the body. And again, the point of this is to not just erase how we feel and to erase what's going on. The point of it is to allow ourselves to be impacted, allow ourselves to have the emotional experience and be regulated enough to move beyond it and be able to do something if we feel called to. So I hope this was helpful. You can use it for whenever it feels appropriate. And until next time, happy tapping.